Greetings to you all, guys. This is Dr. Max once again, and today we are going to look at history, specifically advanced level history. So I'm pretty sure that after this presentation, our Form 5s and 6s who are doing an arts combination with history in it will be assisted accordingly. Specifically, the Form 5s have just joined us. So I'm going to root in the pillars and the fundamentals of essay writing at advanced level. Remember, when these things will be marked, they'll be marked according to impression. So it's about how you grasp these skills and put them on paper. Then you'll be home and dry. So thank you so much, guys, for giving me this opportunity to share this to you. I really appreciate your support. So I'm going to touch on essay writing. So without wasting much of your time, I don't think it needs a rocket scientist to tell us that an essay has 3 parts, and these parts include the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So it is the honors, or it is the prerogative, like I always say, of this lesson to teach you on how to approach each part. So I'm going to touch on how to approach the introduction, how to approach the body, and how to approach the conclusion as well. Thank you so much. So, of course, yes, essay writing is common everywhere. It is common everywhere, even in family religious studies, even in sociology and stuff. But there are some peculiar or some unique elements per subject. So we are going to work with an example. I think I tried to work with a European example, but I found out that some of you might not have covered it. So I tried to work, I tried to come up with something which is simple and holistic, which can assist both the Form 5s and Form 6. So I'm going to work with a certain question as our example. And from that point, I think if you would work with any question, you would have already know, you would have preconceived knowledge of how to kill an essay. Thank you so much. So our question will be from the Great Zimbabwe State, that's the History of Zimbabwe, History Paper 1. So our question reads, to what extent did internal factors contribute to the decline of the Great Zimbabwe State? That's the question that we are going to use as an example in our essay writing lesson, right? To what extent did internal factors contribute to the decline of the Great Zimbabwe State? I chose it because it has one of the common phrases when we are being asked some questions at this level, and that there's this part which is written to what extent, right? So writing an essay, guys, is similar to building a house, right? Is synonymous to building a house, right? Because you guys only see the structure with the tiles on it, painted, a gated wall and stuff, you know. But for all that to come by, for that structure to be there, you also have to give credit to a person called the architecture. An architecture draws the plans of a house. So likewise, before writing your essay, you must also plan. You know what those architecture guys do? You know what they do? They draw the plan of the house. So they draw it on a paper, right? Nowadays, they have what they call 3D resolutions. I'm not well vested in how they really, or how they actually do it, but they present the house before giving it to the bricklayers. They would have stated that, or they would have indicated on their plan that this position is going to be taken by the first bedroom, by the dining room, by the toilets and stuff. So that's what you're supposed to do before you put your essay on paper. Before you write your essay, you must have it in your mind. That's the importance of planning. I'm saying so because I don't want you to be stuck or to freeze whenever you are writing. When you start to write the final thing, you just have to flow right from the introduction to the conclusion. What is important is to plan. Just picture your essay, just plan it first before putting it on paper. That's what I did as well. At advanced level, I think I wrote a couple of years back But what I did at that time is what you're also supposed to do. It's also helpful. You have to plan first. Don't just start writing out of the blue. No, you have to plan like what the architects do. The bricklayers don't just come up and set up the foundation, set up the bricks without the assistance of the what? Without the assistance of the planners. The planners are vitally important. So likewise, that's why I'm always repeating it. Please plan your essay. But for us to come up with a plan, you have to interpret the question first. To interpret is just to find out what the question is demanding. What are its requirements? Like for instance, let me read it again. To what extent did internal factors contribute to the decline of the Great Zimbabwe State? So this question is demanding us to find the degree of extent in which internal factors contributed to the fall or to the demise of the Great Zimbabwe State. So in most cases and in history, a question must have two sides, right? We have to agree with the question, with the given question, whether to a greater extent or to a lesser extent. But however, we must also have another side, which in most cases is an opposite of the first side, or which disputes the first side. For instance, to what extent did the internal factors contribute to the decline of the Great Zimbabwe State? That's what we are supposed to write in the first part. Then, however, on the other hand, or on the other side of the coin, we have to look at the external factors, because the opposite of internal here is external. You get the sense? And that is according to how this question is presented. So the first part of this question will address internal factors which led to the decline of the Great Zimbabwe State. Then, however, it will touch on what? On external factors. So if it's how successful, on the other hand, you look at what? At failure, something like that. That's having a historical scope. You must be analytic enough to find out that internal factors were not the only ones which contribute to the demise of the state, but there were also some external factors. That's the point that I'm trying to make clear here. Thank you so much, guys. So you have to plan. You have to plan, guys. Right now, we already know that this question is two sides. The first part is on internal factors. The other part is on external factors. Fine. So we must have points for internal factors. We must have points for external factors. These points are tailored to substantiate our plan. You get the sense? So we have the internal factors here. Like what really happened within the Great Zimbabwe, which led to its demise. So parts of the plan, I have to come up with the points like bad leadership, exhaustion of natural resources. You know, they were led by overpopulation, due to the repercussions of polygamy. Talk of succession disputes. Succession disputes also led to civil wars. Talk of diseases, rise of ambitious leaders, etc., etc. That's a list of what? Of internal factors. Then we also have external factors. Right? External factors include, there was the shift of trade from the Sabi to the Zambezi Valley. There was also the availability of a good climate in the Dande area. There was also attacks from neighbours. So I think I have grouped the internal factors and the external factors. Please note this. Whenever you are planning, make sure that you also respect the aspect of brevity. Look at the length of my points. They are not long. They are short, they are precise, and they are to the point. Like I always say in most of my videos, you don't have to beat about the bush. Answer the questions their way. So when I started to list internal factors, I just said bad leadership, exhaustion of natural resources, succession dispute. You see, these catchy phrases. Just as simple as that. So that's how you plan. You write internal factors, then you list down those what? Those internal factors: bad leadership, exhaustion of natural resources, succession disputes, civil wars, diseases, rise of ambitious leaders, external factors. It's just like whenever you're given a question, you say, to what extent did Louis XVI contribute to the outbreak of the French Revolution of 1789? Blame Louis XVI with the first part, funding the American War of Independence, succumbing to the influence of his wife. He was extravagant, right? However, there were other causes. That's what I'm simply saying here. But make sure that your points, the points you are formulating are what? Are short and precise and to the point. That's planning. So our planning part is now done and dusted. Once you have a plan, you will not have any problems in formulating your essay, right? Even if it will be 3 or 4 pages long. But once you have your plan, you are good to go. Why? Because the plan is foundational. It is the one which is critical in as much as formulating your introduction is concerned, and formulating your body and development of its paragraph is also concerned. Conclusion, we don't have much to say. It's a roundup of everything. So whenever you are looking at introduction writing, right, that's our second port of call. Introduction writing, you have to coordinate the plan and the introduction. Whenever if you already have the plan, then the introduction is home and dry, right? So these are direct response questions. To what extent did internal factors contribute to the decline of the Great Zimbabwe State? In your first line, or if you don't want to go direct, you can give a certain piece of historiography, that what the Great Zimbabwe is all about. The Great Zimbabwe is one of the Shona states, blah, blah, blah. You can say that. So then you can go on and say, it is to a greater extent, or it is largely true. That is if you are agreeing with the view in question to a greater extent. Greater extent means, we already said that an essay is made up of 2 sides. So if you say to a greater extent to a certain side, this means you are raising more points on that side. If you say to a lesser extent, this means you are raising less points than you are raising on the other end. So if I would say to a greater extent, internal factors contribute to the rise of Great Zimbabwe, I have to see more points on that side. And those points must be more than the external factors side. You get the sense? So let's say you are agreeing, for example, I'm not shoving it into your throats. You can agree with the question to a greater extent or to a lesser extent, depending with the number of points you have per side. You get the sense? So for me, as an example, I would like to say, okay, internal factors contributed to a greater extent. We have factors like, so you can say it is to a greater extent that internal factors contributed to the decline of the Great Zimbabwe State, right? This suggestion or this argument or this submission is supported by the facts that there was bad leadership, exhaustion of natural resources, succession disputes, and civil wars amongst a number of factors. Then you put your full stop. Then you go on to say, however. If you don't want to say however, you can say nevertheless. If you don't want to say nevertheless, you can say on the other end or on the other side of the coin. You know a coin is 2 sides. Our essay is also 2 sides. So if you can say on the other side of the coin, there are also external factors which contributed to the demise of the Great Zimbabwe State. This essay, okay, these include shift of trade, blah, 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 and availability of what, full stop. Right? If you'd like to spice things up, you'd say this essay offers a slice of the pre-colonial status of what? Of Zimbabwe. Pre-colonial means before colonization, because Great Zimbabwe State is a pre-colonial state. Just as simple as that. Then you'll be what? You'll be home and dry. So the introduction, they usually say it's like a miniskirt, which is short enough to entice, but long enough to cover the angels. That's what they usually say. It must show the direction. It must show the roadmap. Like in most cases, when I have a lot of work, if I would check the introduction, I'll be satisfied and I would have a mark in my head. It shows that coordination between it and the plan. And it shows the direction that you're supposed to take. You get the sense? So that's the introduction in short. What is important is what? Planning first, laying down your facts, then you formulate your introduction along those lines. So let us look at another most important part. I've left another fact that you just don't have to include even scholar reviews in the introduction. Why? Because the introduction is yours. If I'm the examiner who is marking, I have to appreciate your argument. I have to appreciate your scope. But in this part, the second part that you are going, the body part, you just have to include scholars if you'd like to cement or if you'd like to concretize your argument. You get the sense? So we have the body. The body comprises of a combination of paragraphs, but they must be flowing. So it's a matter of touching on a simple fact and exhausting it, touching on another and hammering on it and exhausting it, touching on another and exhausting it, then going to the other end, exhausting the facts, then we get our conclusion. So it is made up of a combination of paragraphs. So what is important for us to know right now is to know how to formulate a paragraph. How is a paragraph formulated at advanced level history, right? A proper paragraph is made up of 4 things. Please get me right here, guys. A proper paragraph is made up of 4 things. Number 1, we have what we call the topic sentence. You get the sense? Number 2, we have what we call development of the topic sentence. Number 3, we have what we call exemplification, then tying back your argument. I always say, please make sure that your paragraph must have at least 5 flowing sentences. It must not be less than 5 and above. At least 5 and 8 sentences thereabout, or even up to 10. It depends with your time and depends with how you're writing. But at least 5 sentences, because from those 5 you would have covered those 4 components that I have just aforementioned. Topic sentence, let me look at the topic sentence. Topic sentence reports back to the question, and it must be straightforward, right? The Great Zimbabwe State fell due to bad leadership. Full stop. And this means that in that paragraph, I want to hear about bad leadership only. Don't mix facts. Don't mix facts. If I'm writing about exhaustion of natural resources in a certain paragraph, let me hear about exhaustion of natural resources. Let me hear about civil wars per paragraph. 1 paragraph, 1 idea. So, number 2, development of the topic sentence. You are giving us more information about bad leadership. Please don't assume as if the one who is marking is knowing. Treat him or her like a novice. Excite her. Be like a YouTube video to her, right? Give him or her entertainment, right? Bad leadership. Explain it further. Develop it. Tell us more about bad leadership. What is bad leadership? Contextually, what was it all about? Then the third part is on exemplification, and exemplification is part of analysis as well. That's where you'll be giving examples to substantiate or to cement or to strengthen your argument, because your argument must be strong. And in history, we strengthen our arguments with views from scholars according to DN, Beach and stuff, and we must have dates, right? You must have the correct names of the figures written in capital letters, starting with capital letters. That's what we call how to entice the one who is marking. That's part of the exemplification. Get the historical details right. Why are you saying that? Because that's where we ask you this question. Why are you saying that Great Zimbabwe fell due to bad leadership? You get the sense? Then you convince us with credible examples. You convince us with the views from scholars. Remember, it's a matter of convincing people. That's why they say people do us lie. They end up being lawyers. Yes. It's all about raising a fact and supporting yourself in a convincing manner. So you raise up a fact, you develop it, then you give us examples to substantiate it. Why are you saying civil wars led to the downfall? Why are you saying so? Are there any other historians who have the same line of thought as yours? Something like that. Then you tie your argument. Tying your argument is just going back to the question. Thus, hence, therefore, it is undoubted that bad leadership. You see, you open with reporting back to the question. You close it down with what? With reporting back to the question. So it's like a paragraph must be sealed. Like I said, don't write long, rambling sentences. Make sure that your sentences are precise. 5 flowing sentences with what? With substance. Make sure that each sentence is hitting back to the question. Right. So that's how you write. It's a matter of convincing the one who is marking with credible evidence, with great analysis. Why are you saying that the rise of ambitious leaders led to the downfall of the Great Zimbabwe State? You give examples thereof. Just as simple as that. It's about convincing the one who is marking with evidence. That's how a paragraph is built. So that's how you build each and every paragraph up to the end of the of the body. Then you write your conclusion. Conclusion is simple. Don't introduce new ideas in a conclusion. It's in a nutshell. You are wrapping up, right? Please make use of discourse markers, which shows that you are concluding now. Like in conclusion, to conclude, in a peroration, in a nutshell, to sum up, to end this, finally, right? Something like that. Finally, it is clear from the above that internal factors contributed much. We have seen it through what it's like. You'll be showing how you went about it in the introduction and the body. We must not learn about new ideas in that conclusion. It's just as simple as that, guys. That's essay writing for you at advanced level, and I hope it's applicable for, and it's helpful for Form 5 and 6s, and even other teachers. They can even take this, download it, share it to their teachers, to their students. That's wonderful, guys. Thank you for affording me this opportunity, guys. I really appreciate your support. I think I also attach my phone number to this video. To those who would like to join lessons for advanced level history, even family religious studies, even Shona, I'm there for you guys. And I would appreciate any of your support. Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now.